Hey, what's up, guys? This is Tony, the screenwriter, coming back at you with another installment in my screenwriting educational series, all about screenwriting. This segment is going to be part two. It's going to be talking about, it's entitled Stay Away from Alcohol and Drugs. I know I promised you guys that this is not going to be an ordinary screenwriting course. This is going to be a screenwriting course not just about craft, but it's also going to be on the life of a screenwriter. And one of the most important things that you need as a screenwriter is a level head and a level body and a level mind. Okay. And you're not going to be able to achieve your goals. You're not going to be able to write that script. You're not going to be able to get that great agent or manager. You're not going to even be able to hold that Oscar or make that great movie or go on assignment if you're not totally there 100% the best person you can be. And the number one way that you can get into a lot of trouble as a screenwriter and get into a lot of trouble as a person, especially in Los Angeles, is if you're heavy into alcohol and drugs. Even if you take alcohol and drugs substantially, you're going to get into a lot of trouble. And how do I know this? I was a victim of alcohol and drugs. Not necessarily drugs per se, but more so alcohol. It actually ruined my life. If you look behind me, you can see that I pretty much have a pretty much flat, bare apartment, which is a symbol of my financial status. I'm pretty much broke, and I'm a little bit older. You can see the gray in my beard here. I'm an older man, but I'm living pretty poorly right now, and I would say majority of it is a result of alcohol usage and how it negatively affected the outcome of my life. Luckily, for the past 10 years, I was able to use my GI Bill and take a lot of night classes and study filmmaking and screenwriting and do things that I love to do. However, most of the journey did consist of alcohol use, excessive alcohol use, which really hindered my ability to achieve at my highest level. So this isn't just an airy lecture or something that I'm just making up as a PSA. This is a real serious part of your journey as a screenwriter. So I know some of you guys are in your 20s. I'm sorry. I know some of you guys are in your 20s right now, and you're going to be tempted to go out after work. Your coworkers are going to say, "Hey, let's all go and get some drinks," or you're going to go to that screenwriting meetup that we all love to go to. The Blacklist meetup, International Screenwriters Association, Stage 32 meetup. And you know what? They're all at a bar or at a grill or something like that. And don't get me wrong, I still go to those meetups too. But you have to be wary because you have nothing but beer and booze, and beer and booze equals bad. Bad person, bad screenwriter. And I will warn you, you think that the shot is just a shot, but as you journey through your life as a screenwriter, you're going to go through a lot of downtime. You're going to get rejected a lot. You're going to lose relationships with your boyfriend and girlfriend, like I keep mentioning. You're going to lose relationship with your job. You're going to have financial troubles, and the booze is going to rear its ugly head because the shots and a glass of wine at dinner, the pint of beer at the meetup is going to turn into bottles and bottles of wine. It's going to turn into bottles and bottles of liquor. They're going to turn into kegs of beer. And then before you know it, you're drunk. You're not going to the meetups anymore because you're hungover and drunk. You can't hold a job. You keep getting fired and laid off. You can't hold a relationship with your boyfriend or girlfriend. You can't hold a relationship with your family over in Philadelphia or Massachusetts or Oakland or wherever you're from. And the beer, the wine, the liquor is going to really start to ruin your life because the stress that you endured and the defeat that you endured enhances and increases your alcohol and drug usage. Okay, like I said, I wasn't on drugs, I was more alcohol. And I can tell you what my history was. I started drinking really when I was a teenager. And a lot of people that are very smart will say, "Yeah, well, we knew that where you were going." And I started as a teenager. I listened to a lot of music, a lot of rap music, R&B, which promoted a lot of drinking. And then, you had the videos, then you had movies where you had a lot of drinking. You had billboards. I grew up in a city on the East Coast, and they had a lot of billboards that promoted beer. They promoted liquor, whiskey, scotch, more beer, cigarettes, and then more rap music, which promoted a lot of liquor and weed, which I did experiment with weed as well in my 20s. And then, that's when I graduated. I graduated from with the bachelor's, and in my 20s, as soon as I got home, I started hanging out with old neighborhood friends who were smoking weed and drinking. We were going to the club, doing shots, listening to music that promoted going to the club and doing shots. And that's where all the fun started. And I tell you guys, this stuff all starts off as fun and good times. Going out to the club with your friends, going out to the meetups with your colleagues, going after work hangouts, doing shots, going doing the drinks. So, that's how it all started. So I was drinking and I even experimented smoking weed in my 20s, which I didn't know it at the time was inhibiting my performance at work. I would wake up hungover on a Saturday morning, on a Sunday morning, and then I would have to clean myself up. And then I'm in work at work Monday morning, and I'm still kind of hungover from the weekend. And instead of getting my real estate license, instead of getting my Series 66 license on the weekend, instead of studying sales or studying film on the weekend, I was out drinking and partying, not working hard, which is what you're supposed to do in your 20s. I just want to let you know, guys, your 20s are your grinding years. It doesn't stop with college or film school, it continues. And you should be working 60 plus hours a week in your 20s, really, if you want to be successful. But I didn't. I worked 40 hours a week, caught off from Friday afternoons, hit the club Friday nights, Saturday nights. Sometimes for like a few years, I was going to the club Friday and Saturday night, spending up all my money, getting drunk, getting high. Those are my 20s. In my 30s was I started really seeing the effects of getting drunk and high. I was having a hard time keeping a job. I had a lot of turnover in jobs. I was getting fired. I was quitting. I was getting laid off. And even though I don't want to admit it, but I can kind of contribute a lot of that to drinking because drinking slows down your brain and your organs, and you're just not able to perform the way you want to perform at work. And for a male like me in a city, optimal performance is going to be key to your success as a professional. It's going to be your key to success, period, in life, and especially in film, where your 20s are key years where you need to perform and you need your mind and your body. And alcohol and drugs simply are going to slow you down. You're going to be a drunk and you're just not going to know it, which is going to be the worst part of being a drunk. The worst part of being a drunk is being a drunk and an alcoholic and you don't know it and you're resisting it. People are saying you drink too much and you don't think you drink too much. You don't think that you're that idea of an alcoholic, but you are. So this is your warning. Put the beer down, put the liquor down, put the weed down, put the cigarettes down. No alcohol and drugs. Okay? And try to stay away from those that do alcohol and drugs. If you have a nice section of friends and colleagues that are all into film, try to encourage each other to stay away from drugs. Now, this lesson about alcohol and drugs is probably one of the most important lessons, more important than any of the craft lessons that I'm going to give you. Okay, and I'm shooting it straight from my apartment. I'm X years old. I'm in my 50s and live in an apartment, and I can contribute this kind of failure to alcohol and drugs. Alcohol and drugs in my teens, alcohol and drugs in my 20s, alcohol and drugs in my 30s, alcohol and drugs in my 40s, alcohol and drugs in my 50s, then bam, You see a background with an empty apartment, empty room, and you're going to be rebuilding your life from the ground up at 50. And you're going to be a divorcee, or you're going to be a single person with no family, no friends, no family, no friends, because alcohol ruined your life. And it gets really, really serious. And this is so serious that I want to give you a really candid session about what the darkness is in screenwriting. And the darkness is alcohol and drugs. Alcohol and drugs. Okay, so when you go to that meetup, do not pick up that pint of beer. Do not drink that red or white wine because you saw that other screenwriter or that agent or manager sipping on wine or a cocktail. Do not smoke that cigarette, or do not go with those weed smokers. It's going to kill your brain. And if you're in your 20s, it definitely is going to kill your brain. It's going to really alter the trajectory of your success as a screenwriter and a professional. Okay, so my 20s were characterized by going to the club a lot. And then I even tried to join the Marines when I was in my 20s and failed because I wasn't in shape. And probably as a result of alcohol and dabbling in weed. In 30s, guess what? I was homeless. The result of drinking and low performance in the job as a result of alcohol, as a result of hanging out with people that smoked weed and smoked cigarettes and drink alcohol, went to the clubs all the time, had me homeless because the alcohol slowed down my brain, it slowed down my organs. I wasn't able to perform at work, and I didn't even know that I was an alcoholic. I didn't even know that I was underperforming. I got laid off from my job and I couldn't even recover because I just wasn't smart enough, sharp enough, agile enough to recover because I was drinking so much, I was just slow. Then on top of that, when I became unemployed, I drank more because I was just so distressed. And when I get distressed, I started drinking. And I was drinking for about 1 to 2 years straight, unemployed. And then when my unemployment ran out, I was homeless. My family didn't want to take me in. I was just too old and too grown. I couldn't live with the other extended family. So I had to, on the East Coast, move into a homeless shelter, which was degrading. But you know what? I was so under the influence of alcohol that I was numb to it that it didn't even bother me that much. I was able to just move in and live homeless on the East Coast for about a year or so. Then eventually I was able to pull myself out of it, get a job somehow, and again, I was off and on again with the alcohol. And I lived a very menial, terrible life, bare, bare floor apartments, no furniture, the life of an alcoholic. Now, guys, I really, really want to scare you out of this. I, that's my point. The point of this lecture is to scare you. The point of my lecture is to gross you out. The point of my lecture, I want you to see this ugly cupboard behind me. This is where I store a lot of my stuff. I want you to see that one bed in the middle of the empty floor right behind me. That's where I sleep. This is the terrible side of being a screenwriter. This is where you don't want to live. And I know a lot of you guys in your 20s are living like this. Some of you guys are living out of a van. But I tell you, you do not want to be living like this in your 40s and 50s. You want to have a nice, beautiful family. You want to have a nice, successful career as a screenwriter where you can contribute to a family. You want to contribute to your community. You want to contribute to your coworkers. You want to be in a clear head. Okay, because alcohol will ruin your life. It will ruin your love life, especially for the men. It'll ruin your libido. It will take down your T levels. The next you know, your things aren't working right. And take from me, I know from experience, it wasn't working right. I had to hit the gym and do squats because the muscles were weakened because I was drinking so much, and my body wasn't working as properly as it should be. And so once I learned how to stop drinking, which was about 2 years ago, had to hit the gym. I'll be going to the gym tomorrow morning, hopefully, and hitting the squats. And then I had to revamp my diet, drinking beet juice, nitric oxide, turmeric. I had to redo my whole system because the alcohol ruined me. And it's going to ruin your sex life. It's going to ruin your romantic life. It's going to ruin your career at work because it's going to get out of control to a point where you just may be coming into work hungover, which is good, or you may be coming into work drunk. Some people come into work drunk because they're drinking because alcohol is out of control. Okay, so one thing is that with drinking, you just may not be able to stop drinking. A lot of people say don't do drugs, stop drinking, stop smoking weed. But what I've learned as a person, as a screenwriter, some of us have very stressful lifestyles. I got fired and laid off a lot as a result of beer, and it distressed me. And the distress makes you drink more. Drinking more makes you more distressed. More distress makes you drink even more, and then you're losing your job and losing relationships. It's a vicious cycle. And what you need to do, guys, what I've learned over the years is that your distress, your stresses, you have to monitor them. You need a safe way of venting your distresses because what happens is they build up in your system and it causes you to drink a lot more. So that one shot that you had at a party, that one beer, that glass of wine that you had at a nice dinner, it's going to turn into the whole bottle when you start dealing with the life of a screenwriter. You get rejected from a festival, you get rejected from a contest, you get rejected from a fellowship. You break up with your boyfriend or girlfriend, which is really a driving cause. You get fired or laid off from your menial job. These things are going to cause stressors, and you need a system to deal with the stressors because if you don't, they're going to build up, and they're going to be what causes the alcoholism. Okay, so what was happening with me? I was getting laid off. I was getting fired. I wasn't making a lot of money. I was hanging around with the wrong guys. Once I got stressed out, the beer and wine during unemployment turned into the whole bottle of beer and wine. So you have to watch out. You need a good support unit, family and friends, other screenwriters to kind of keep you sane and keep you off of the booze. Okay, so right now what I do is whenever I get a negative uh, rejection, whenever something bad happens to me, I log it down on an Excel spreadsheet. I vent about it. I focus on negative emotions. I go scream the negative emotions at the wall, and then I reframe the situation into something positive so that negativity isn't in my system. I learned this through pretty much reading and going to AA. Okay, I'm just checking my notes here. Okay, so that was my 20s, my 30s. That's when I started really getting fired and laid off from jobs, which really spiked. I ended up homeless in downtown Philadelphia. I was homeless for a year. I was able to get a job. It was my dream job, but due to drinking, I want to say drinking and low performance, I lost that job. Luckily, I joined the Army shortly after I lost the job. I was actually planning on joining the Army. I joined the Army in 2006. I was off the booze for a while, but once I got back on the booze, performance and problems and mishaps and disciplinary issues started arising. And I must say, it ruined my life and ruined my career in the Army. Once I started drinking at the club with people, they say, hey, let's go out, get some drinks. Bad, bad, bad. Wrong answer. Stay at home, get your real estate license, get your Series 66. Try to stay away from your drinker friends, especially in film, which is a very high performance environment. Stay away from the drinking friends. Stay away from the smoking friends. Stay away from the weed smoking friends. Because those drinks after work, those drinks at the meetup, those drinks at the company function are going to turn into a problem. Don't do it. So my 30s, I went into the Army about 36. Through basic and AIT, through basic, I wasn't drinking. AIT, I started drinking, and then I was passing out because I was drinking so much because of the stress of AIT, and I was doing a lot of training on the West Coast, which is a lot of desert. The desert kind of makes me drink because it's lame and it's hazy. It drops my T levels. increasing my cortisol, which makes me drink. And I was drinking excessively. I was hanging around people that drank. I was going to the clubs. And then those beers, those shots with the guys turned into a problem. And then eventually I was getting reprimanded because I was getting into alcohol related incidents. And then I was getting reprimanded as an officer in the Army once. And then I didn't stop drinking. I didn't think I had a problem. I thought the problem had a problem. I didn't think I had a problem. And I kept drinking. And then I got reprimanded again with a DWI. That was 2 reprimands in the Army. And then I got a DWI. And then eventually I got discharged from the Army, which was a terrible, terrible disgrace. I felt disgraced. I felt upset. I got a general under honorable discharge. Alcohol ruined my Army career. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, my commanding officers are going to say, you made a decision. But I tell you this, alcohol will make the decision for you. Many and many times I stopped drinking. That was my decision. Stop drinking, be a responsible adult. But alcohol ties into your mind and your will to a point where you're loving the dopamine and the serotonin. You're in the bar with music. You got friends. The serotonin and dopamine hooks you in, especially when you're alone. Like you moved to LA. I was in the military alone in Texas. And those are my new friends. When we had breaks, I had nothing else to do. I was getting hit by the sun. I was lonely. The only place I can go to was a bar where I met temporary friends with a permanent booze, and it turned into a problem. And eventually, I got a DWI just before I was supposed to go and deploy. And eventually, I was on probation. It was a huge, huge, humiliating event because I had to walk in through the gate. I couldn't drive my car on the post. I had to walk in, and I really found out who my friends were, who my unit was. Nobody really helped me out. It was humiliating. Alcohol is the ultimate humiliator. And I'm walking in through the gate in my PT shorts. Fast forward, I'm on a breathalyzer on my car. I moved to Los Angeles, and I'm late 30s, hitting early 40s, still drinking. Still drinking. I'm in LA now. I know to take Uber. I'm taking the Uber, so I'm going out places and drinking, but I'm still driving a little bit, bumping my car up every once in a while. But no DWIs, no real alcohol-related offenses, other than I was in school. I went to New York Film Academy, Los Angeles, and I was drinking lots of wine and liquor during vacation and hiatus, and it became a problem. I started missing classes. I started coming in drunk and hung over. It was very, very humiliating to a point where people would pull me to the side and say, "Hey, Tony, you smell like booze. Try not to come back in here smelling like that again." Those things are very, very humiliating. It got to a point where I wanted to jump out a window, and literally, when you drink a lot, you have something called delirium tremens. It's when you start hallucinating. You start seeing things on the wall, like insects and bugs are flying. That's really your brain acting up. You start having audible hallucinations. That's when you start hearing things, hearing people talk to you, hearing voices. I heard voices say, "Kill yourself." It was when I was getting my MFA at NYFA, New York Film Academy. And I called the Veterans Suicide Crisis Line. And guys came over and asked me what was wrong. I had to tell them that it was nothing. And the next morning, I went and checked into the VA. They said I had schizophrenia. They gave me some drugs, and that was that. I still didn't know what was going on. And and not too long after that, I was homeless for the first time in LA. The alcohol. I didn't get my MFA from Newark Film Academy because I was drunk. I missed so many classes. They had to give me an F. So I had 2 Fs for my final semester there. I didn't graduate. I was humiliated in front of my classmates. I'm probably known by the whole staff as a drunk. It was humiliating. I went to another conservatory, Lee Strasberg there in Film Institute. and I got pulled over to the side there. And then I went to Ivana Chubbuck Institute, and I got pulled over to the side there. They were saying I smelled like liquor because I was the distress that I was feeling from the desert, being alone, not having a good meditating process, not having a good process of dealing with the anxiety and the distress of taking acting classes back to back to back. It built up and it caused me to drink a lot, and I had problems. And the alcohol ruined my life, it ruined my reputation because I'm in front of a lot of people, a lot of acting classes, and these people are very nice and generous people. But I'm known as a drunk because the alcohol got taken out of hand. So in my 40s, I was homeless. I was in Skid Row in Los Angeles, which isn't, I guess, isn't as bad as the East Coast, but it's still bad. It's not the place you want to be. But I was so drunk, and when you get drunk a lot, you're kind of permanently drunk because your mind and body is so numb that you're not really responding to stimulus. Like you're not responding to the environment. You're not responding to your family and friends, to your job. You're kind of in a numb, drunk state of being permanently until you start doing things to kind of regain your consciousness and your brain, like taking supplements like magnesium, turmeric, ginger, all the stuff that I'm taking now to kind of heal myself from being permanently drunk for years and years and decades. So fast forward, I was on Skid Row around 2017 to 2020. That's 3 years on Skid Row living as a homeless person. How did I do it? How is a man able to do something like that? Getting drunk. I would get drunk. I would work while I'm on Skid Row, go to job, and then when I get off on a Friday or whenever I'm off, I'm hitting the bar. So the beer and everything kept me in a nice, drunk, lowly state of mind. Gotta turn the light on. Lowly state of mind to a point where I could live on Skid Row for 3 years. Luckily, I was taking night classes while on Skid Row and studying screenwriting and filmmaking at night, spending my GI Bill. So while I was drunk, I was conscious and smart enough to take night classes in something. And then 2020, COVID hit. And luckily, I was able to move out of Skid Row. I moved out of Skid Row, moved into a smaller apartment than this in Koreatown. And once uh, COVID hit, I actually stopped drinking for like a month or so, or at least stopped drinking beer. And I was drinking wine with dinner. But COVID started hitting me. I was sedentary. I was getting distressed because it wasn't ending anytime soon. And the glass of wine turned into a bottle of wine, and then the bottle of wine started turning into the bigger bottles of wine. And then next thing you know, I'm drinking Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 10 o'clock in the morning, watching movies, having a ball, wasting my life away. No family, no children, no money. Just spending all my unemployment on wine. And it got to a point where I would get on a Zoom and people would look at my eyes and they would see that they were bloodshot red, pie-eyed red. I know what that means now, pie-eyed red. They got so red to a point they were turning purple and orange at times when I look at myself. My hair would fall out. My hair fell out up around there, up on top of my head, and throughout my scalp. I was a hot mess. I was even smoking during COVID. And it got to a point where my arms turned red. My skin was red. My arms turned red, and I looked really, really crazy. And I was fortunate enough to have some kind of romantic relationship here and there, but they didn't last more than a month. I had one woman that I was with, one relationship that I was in for a few months, and they were complaining about me drinking too much. Unfortunately, they were drinking too much as well, but and it was a very terrible thing, and it ruined my relationships. I was taken off work, and COVID forced me to drink a lot. So I ruined that relationship. I moved into this place in 2024. I started drinking here every day. I was working from home. I was able to actually make a little bit of money through my entrepreneurial venture, but I used a lot of it to drink and fast relationships. living like a drunk. But the hard thing is I couldn't really stop. I wanted to stop. I stopped during COVID, during the years of drinking. I stopped dozens and dozens of times a year, but I couldn't hold on. Even went to AA online with my VA support group. But it wasn't until 2024 that I was able to make a change. And that change was actually going to a physical AA, sitting in the AA, and participating in the AA. I went to many AAs before, Alcoholics Anonymous, that's what AA is. And I just sat there and didn't participate, shut up, just listened to everybody else's sob story, left, and then hit the bar or the liquor store right after, and drank my head off. But this time in 2024, September of 2024, I went into AA. I was so hungover. And in fact, in this place right here, this is where I started having more delirium tremens, and they started getting serious. I saw snakes and pythons on the floor. I would walk into the hallway outside of my door. I would walk around. I would see bugs and snakes. I was running around the hallways. They were telling me things that people were trying to kill me. I would run outside, run around the corner, run into the alleyways, and delirium tremens were getting serious. And I kind of see how Ernest Hemingway probably killed himself because he was having delirium tremens. And all these all famous people that get on drugs and start hurting themselves, it's delirium tremens. I was hearing voices coming from the TV. I was hearing voices coming from my windows. I thought people were killing me. They were telling me not to come home, to go away, not to come back. I was spending hours outside, afraid to come back to my own place. I was having some really bad episodes. And then that's what made me go to AA again. It was in September 2024. I went to AA. And guys, right now, if you're drinking now, I strongly encourage you to find some AA groups in your area. Those are the most effective ways of dealing with your addiction. Once people start telling you you drink too much, once you start losing your work, once you start getting those lectures from coworkers or teachers or whoever saying, hey, you smell like booze, you need to hit the AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and get a sponsor. Make friends with somebody. A lot of guys in there know exactly what you're going through, and these guys are good. Go to AA, get a sponsor. They know all about you. They'll get you set up with the 12-step program. My sponsor immediately had me write out all the bad things I've done as a result of alcohol. And then right after that, he had me read the Blue Book, which is a blue book on the Alcoholics Anonymous, which I already had. But I didn't read the thing because I thought it was too good and thought it was beneath me. But once I started reading it, I realized how I wasn't the only one there. And this is when I'm at my lowest point. So this is like right when I'm hitting, 50, age 50. So I'm an old head, gray in my beard, but there are other guys there, and all these guys are talking about how they lost their families. And you will lose everything as an alcoholic. So if you have a promising career as a writer, you have a boyfriend and girlfriend, you have a nice car, a nice house, you can lose everything as an alcoholic. So once I started getting in AA and doing the 12 steps, I started doing AA meetings like every week, during 2024. Then turned it to every day, which is like now, like Monday through Fridays. I go to AA morning Zooms every day, and it's helped me tremendously. It helped me to create a technique and a method for dealing with myself so I can deal with the alcohol abuse. And I've been clean for about almost a year and 9 months now. I did relapse last year during the holidays, but my people told me to keep going. But I had substantial victories. But I tell you guys, please, please look behind me and see the emptiness. This empty room with the chair with nothing. This is how you can end up as a result of alcohol. Alcohol ruins your life. Okay, and the biology behind this, guys, is that, especially for the men, being a screenwriter lowers your T scores, your T levels, your testosterone levels. Okay, and when your testosterone levels are lowered from sitting around too much, especially if you don't really work out, sitting around going through rejections, it makes you drink. So if you find yourself going from shots to the whole bottle, That's what it is. So you need to get your T scores, your T levels up. However you need to. I take rhodiola, rosea. That helps me get my T levels up. I also hit the gym a lot, a bit, like 2 times. I go to the gym about 2 times a week. I move around. I walk around a lot and do a lot of great things. But guys, you got to take care of yourself. And to take care of yourself as far as alcohol, I would say the best thing to do is don't touch the booze. Do not touch the alcohol. Do not go to that. If you go to the meetup and drink, try to go with a bunch of non-alcoholics, and do not touch the beer. Do not touch the liquor. Do not touch the wine. Hang around non-alcoholic friends. Try to go to non-alcoholic meetups if you can. Most meetups are in Hollywood typically are at a bar or at a grill. Stay away. If you can stay away, if you don't. I like to go to the meetup to meet connections and people. But now that I just start to, they're becoming more and more unattractive because I just can't really hang around people sipping on cocktails and beers like that in my face like I used to. So that's that. So that's my 40s. My 50s right now, I've been sober for most of my 50s, and I love it. I go to what's been keeping me sober is a support group. I have an AA support group that I go to on Zoom. I can go to one in the morning, which is where I normally hang. I have one at night. Uh, they have um, they have one at night that I used to go to when I first started these. I used to go every night, and then they have some on the weekends, which are in person, which I may want to go to, pop in sometime soon. They have them on Saturday and Sunday mornings in town. Alcohol will destroy you. And you're going to get to a point once you become addicted that you don't have a say in the matter. Alcohol is going to start controlling you. You're going to be drunk until somebody intervenes or something intervenes and they get you into an AA and get you off of the booze. However, they, they until somebody gets you off the booze. And again, how I was able to recover, I was having delirium tremens and I lost one of my AA sponsors online. And he forced me to go to an in-person AA meetings, which was exceptionally helpful to me. Because once I started talking about my stresses, it was some form of release of the negativity that was built inside me. I had camaraderie. I had people hugging me and shaking my hand and the release of the negative stress in me plus the camaraderie did some kind of healing and it was able to have me stop drinking for a while, and I also felt accountable to those people that I was in front of. So that's my story. That's what helped me to stop drinking. Okay, so that's my message to you guys right now. This is lesson number 2 in all about screenwriting, called Stay Away from Alcohol and Drugs. This is a very, very important lesson from a person who's lived the life of a screenwriter and how this thing can ruin you. Another note, as a screenwriter is very structured. This isn't like poetry or prose or literature where you can just sit down and write stream of consciousness. Screenwriting is going to become very technical, methodical, and mechanical to an extent where you have to have structure and you got pieces here and you got to put them all together to make them a fluid piece. So you cannot write a good script while you're drunk like you think you can, like you can in prose and in literature and prose and poetry. Drinking will ruin you. I mean, when I drink, I just cannot write a script at all. I just cannot write a script. Okay. So, and just for the physical things that drinking does to you, like I said, it kills your sexual libido. For the men, it kills your libido. You think you're all right, but you're not. It kills your erections, your prostate, your pelvic floor. Then it starts to kill your organs. Your spleen starts to hurt. My spleen was tingling a lot. It swells your organs. Blood isn't flowing through to your organs, to your heart, and to your brain. And then it swells your brain. You start having memory lapses, short term and long term disability lapses. and you can't remember anybody's name. People are going to start calling you dumb because you're in a permanent state of drunkenness. You're going to be dumb because you can't remember anything. You're going to have very poor performance at work, with romantic, with the relationship. You can't hold a relationship, can't hold a job. You're not going to have any friends. Alcohol will inhibit you physically. And like I said before, turn my skin red, turn my eyes red, my hair fell out. Alcohol will destroy you. And luckily, I felt that I had swelling in my body because I mistakenly one day drank turmeric, and I just felt this burning sensation in my heart and in my shoulders. And ever since then, I've been drinking turmeric because I'm trying to get rid of the swelling in my body because I've been drinking so much for years and years and decades. My body's swollen. So if you would see me now and probably this time around 2024, you probably see a remarkable difference. My skin is brighter. My skin looks more youthful because I've been drinking a lot of water. Hopefully, this time next year, I'll have a fuller head of hair because I'm doing a lot of hair growth remedies because I'm taking zinc to replenish my body with the zinc that I've lost as a result of drinking, magnesium. All of my remedies are natural, so I'm taking a lot of protein drinks, magnesium, potassium, multivitamins. I'm replenishing my body, putting more water in my body to replenish myself from the years and years and decades of drinking. I've been doing Kegels. I do Kegels in the morning, which has really repaired my, libido and my pelvic floor. It's given me a renewed sense of strength. I get, frequent testosterone bursts all the time. Um, and I'm rebuilding. And right now, at the age of 50 something years old, I'm in a process of rebuilding. And you're going to be utterly humiliated when you're around other friends your age who are successful, who have beautiful families, and you have to sit and explain how you were a victim of alcohol. So I urge you guys, if you're in your 20s and your 30s, do not go to those meetups and drink. If you find out you have to go, because it's a really big meetup or something, do not touch the booze. If somebody asks you, let's go get drinks after work, do not do it. Treat it as if it's a prank that somebody's trying to prank you to destroy your life. Coming from Tony the screenwriter, alcohol destroyed my life. I just took you guys through my life as a screenwriter dealing with alcohol, and it was nothing but utter devastating failure. And I want to be candid and personal with you guys because this is so important to your progress and to your safety, to your livelihood as a screenwriter. Stay away from drugs. I'm Tony the screenwriter signing out. In reference to this, please go to Amazon and buy my book. So a thing happened. It's a self-help book that I designed, and it's a book that's designed to kind of help you prevent doing alcohol and drugs. And if you're in alcohol and drugs, have a resource to get out of it. And if worst gets to worst, guys, comment on this video below, subscribe to my channel, share this video. And if worst gets to worst, guys, whoever's watching this, if you're really struggling, if you're like dealing with alcohol and you just don't have any support, no way out, comment below, hit me up, connect with me on social media. Say, Tony, the screenwriter, I'm struggling with this stuff and I need help. What do I do? And I will gladly, proudly hit you back on text or DM. And if I have to, I'll look up AA groups for you in your neighborhood. If not in person, definitely on Zoom, and I'll send it over to you because alcohol is a very serious subject. All right. So if you guys have problems, comment below. Let me know what's going on with you, and I'll help you out. Other than that, just comment. Let me know what you think of this video. I'm Tony, the screenwriter, signing out. Peace.